Hello, wonderful people. Welcome back to my podcast. It's so good to have you here. Thank you so much for supporting me. We have reached our 250, I believe, mark. It's a wonderful growth. It's been interesting seeing how things are going within the community. So thank you so much for supporting me. Please don't forget to check out my blog, seetheworld.com. Over there, there's a lot about traveling, travel tips, where to go, where to eat, what to do, what to not do, and a lot of personal travel stories that I've had over the last 6 years. So please don't forget to check it out. So for today's episode, we are going to talk about football and the African identity. And when I say football, I mean like football, the one that you play with your foot. Like, this is the one thing I'm not American about. I do not call it soccer. I call it football, like normal people call it football. I guess I get in trouble with my American friends sometimes. Sometimes if I want to tease my friends who play American football, I'll be like, "Do you play the real one or the American one?" And they get so mad. Like, that was like the best way I got back on my friends during college and even now, because I know some football players and everything. So to tease them, I'd be like, "Do you play the real one or the American one?" But yeah, so we're gonna call it football, the one with your foot that everywhere around the world plays, and call it football and the African identity. And this theme came to me because we are in football season. It is CAN 2024 in Africa, Conference of Nations. There's a lot of spectacles, there's a lot of traditions to just see how this event bring not just joy, but like make us proud of our individual African countries and our identities as either Congolese, Senegalese, Ivorian, all of that. Like, it is so beautiful for me to see. As a kid who grew up in a diaspora, who like our art and our athletic abilities is have always been innate in describing our identity, right? And when I was just looking at the opening ceremony, it just reminded me of how when last summer I went to DC and I went to the African American Museum for the first time, and I was going through these exhibits and everything, and then there were like the war, like the black veterans and everything, and reading the stories and seeing how black men were enlisting in the military as a way to earn their American identity, or as a way to, and they were hoping that by fighting for America, like the country, they would be seen as American. It was their way to earn their American identity. It was their way to earn the love from the American public and everything. And realizing how in our history as black people we had to earn our dignity is interesting, because that's how I feel when I watch Khan. Like, I feel like through football we are able to earn our dignity as Africans in front of the world. Let me explain. If you think about how the creation of the African as this barbaric, uneducated loser in need of a handout and everything, you start to realize how, and you also start to realize why a lot of African kids and black kids in general grew up resenting being African, resenting being black and everything, because it just represented so much negative things. you will see people now want to be black. You will see people now want to show their Africanness, right? And the continent of Africa and black people in general, we've been maybe like, except for like Native Americans or the native populations in different parts of the world, we've been taught to not like who we are, to not like anything that we have to offer, to not love our tradition, to think of them as outdated and archaic, bizarre, weird. So as a people, we go about our day sometimes unconsciously refusing to display anything that will make, like, where people will view us as weird. And I have experienced that because when we moved to the United States, other black people, sometimes Africans, they will make fun of the stuff that I was doing, and they will be, and even people in Africa, like I remember when I presented my thesis and I was video calling with my oldest brother who lives in Africa, and I did not have braids. I just put my hair in a ponytail and everything, and I have kinky hair, right? And I remember him saying, "When you presented your thesis looking like that," I'm like, "What do you mean I look cute?" He's like, "Why didn't you do your hair? Like, why didn't you buy a wig? Why didn't you know?" And I'm just like, the hell? Like, I look fine just the way I am, right? So we sometimes don't even think about how internalized our desire to remove our African identity has been. We don't really realize how internalized like self-hatred of being African or being black that we have. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, when we moved to the United States, before moving to the United States, my mother used to do African threading on me, because when we lived in Africa, like when I was a kid, you were not allowed to have your hair out at school. So she would do African threading because she refused to cut my hair, right? She would do African threading and everything. And so I was not really raised with doing single braids and weave and all of that. And again, I'm a little kid. You're not supposed to have that in your hair. Like, we would have that like over summer break. And because it was too hot, I wouldn't even last long with it, because when school came back out, like, we needed to take off the braids and all that, because either it had to be laid in cornrows, like natural cornrows with your hair, or African threading, or you have to cut your hair. So when we moved here, so that's what like I grew up with. So when we moved here, I was like, I'm not used to the single, and I think maybe that's why I'm not really like picky with like learning how to glue a wig, or because it's not something that has been internalized for me to do. But when we moved to the United States, when I asked my mom to do African threading and everything, she's like, "No, we're here now. Why don't you do braids and everything?" Like, because in the summer I leave my hair out, but in the winter, because of I live in New England, you have to put in braids so that my hair don't break. So you can just see how, like, you have, when America now, you need to reject, that mindset. Like, we were doing it when we were in Africa, like, and everything. So in a way, even when we don't think about it, we have internalized that our traditions are barbaric, our traditions are not desirable, and you have families who go around not teaching their kids the native language, be like, "Oh, my kids are American now." Like, in the Congolese community, like in my states, you have like people, like parents would be like, "Oh no, these are American kids, so because like They did not want to teach them anything about like their cultures, because now you're American. We want to remove you from that, like, barbaric culture and everything. And through football, we have gained our pride and our dignity. For us Congolese, for example, like our music is how we show our, like it's a proof of our dignity, right? And we also have something called sapology, but I'm not gonna talk about that because it's ridiculous. But it's just like overdressing, buying bougie clothes, buying designer clothes and everything. And the reason why I don't like it is because you will have people like live in slum but want to dress well, because I'm telling you, when God made the Congolese, He did not give us self-esteem issues. We do not have self-esteem issues as a people, right? We will dress, we will wear multiple colors, we will look like the gay parade flag and everything. And yeah, whatever. But for us Congolese, our music is like the evidence of like, is the way that we regain our identity, our dignity, our culture and everything. Because Congolese music, as I said in my episode about Congolese music, that we don't sing it. Like, of course we add some French words, but our art, our movies, our songs are mainly in Lingala, which is not a European language. It's a Bantu language, right? So through football, and the reason why I said to football, because it's like when football came, we showed that we had skills. You have people, the white man coming in trying to recruit us to play in the soccer team, or to play, to play in the football team and everything. Some of the best players in the football leagues, regardless of country, are from Africa, or are people of African descent, or they live in the African diaspora. Football signified what going to war signified for Black Americans, right? For Africans, football was like the way to earn our respect as a people. When you go to France, the French national team, they're all diaspora kids. They're all African diaspora kids, right? And the funny thing is, like, a lot of African immigrants who live in Europe and even in the United States here, because they know that the system is not in their favor, at least in America, like, a kid can get an education and become somebody. But in Europe, because the road to like becoming somebody through education is sometimes blurry, football ensures that that immigrant family have status in Europe. Football ensures that they live the European dream. So you have a lot of immigrant parents put their kids to football camp, and they're very like consistent with it, more than they are consistent with school, in order to ensure that the family history get flipped from beggars to people with dignity now. And the powers that be, they use football to make you feel wanted, to make you feel needed. But sometimes when you lose, you're African. When you win the World Cup, you're French. And I remember, I think it was Tony Blair who said this, who gave this beautiful. Now, it's a little bit messed up, but in a way, it helps, and like, it helps show the dilemma of identity in sports, right? Because he said, if, for example, if England is playing against Jamaica, who does a Jamaican British person will support, right? So in my example, if the Congo and the United States play off in a football match, who will I go for? Now, in all fairness, I will go for the Congo because Americans call the sport soccer, and it's not really a popular sport in America, so I would go with the Congo for that reason only. But sports and going to war, in the case of Black Americans, have been used as weapons to kind of like toy with like when you belong and when you don't belong, right? And the thing that makes Khan special, because Khan is for Africans player, right? It's like the Olympics for African national team. The reason why it's beautiful to have such a thing is because we are there to be ourselves. You know, there's a lot of like things that, oh yeah, Africans don't like each other. If you look at like our history, divide and conquer has been the motto of Africa, basically, right? But through sport, through football, we have learned to learn about one another, demonstrate our different culture. It has been a time where we bring out our culture in full force. And it's different than the World Cup, because with the World Cup, not a lot of us go to the World Cup, right? Not a lot of us go to the World Cup. So we don't have that platform to display the individuality or the multifaceted identity of Africans, right? Because if you have Morocco, Senegal, and gonna go to the World Cup, they're only showing up for their country. But at Cannes, not only are you showing up for your country, but you're showing up for a culture. Because our cultures are different, they're similar, they're intertwined. And it's so cool to just see how we're connected. We're different, but yet connected. And as somebody who's been raised in the diaspora, just Cannes is like my favorite sport event, because I just love seeing like what team is gonna wear what, you know, like how is the host country gonna show out. And to see an African country benefit from tourism, that's another plus for me, right? That's another plus, because you're like, oh my God, this event adds to the economy of this country. It boosts tourism. It teaches people about this country that they would have never thought about going. It's amazing. You know, it's an amazing win for Africans. And for us to grow up in the diaspora is so amazing, because me watching, I get to learn things about Senegal, Mali, Namibia that I may not have learned if we did not have such a spectacle, right? So I'm excited to see who will win. Of course, I am supporting the DRC, my country of origin, the country of my parents, the country of my ancestors, of course. And I'm hoping that we win. This will be our fourth win. So yeah. Now I have to be honest. I feel like I jumped a lot around a lot of points during this episode because I'm very stuffy, and every 3 seconds I had to go pause to blow my nose. So I hope everything made sense, y'all. Talk to you guys later. Bye.